Okay, Steen,
Cheers.
apple juice cheers. So this is the least serious, but probably best interview of Superweek TV. I'm already calling it. We're having analytics conspiracy session. I think that, yeah, analytics conspiracies.
Yeah.
So
and it's even bigger than this. Is probably also all the way to data conspiracies, right? So
yeah,
we don't put any limitation on us.
exactly. So we can go in any direction. You had a talk today. Well, first of all, this is your 10th Superweek.
Yeah, I think.
You're old.
Who's counting? Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
It's like
Okay.
this numbers thing. It's kind of.
So congrats on that. You had a talk today, and if I have to summarize it, it is AI is taking our job. Is that a correct summarization, or am I being too?
No, I think actually I would flip it around and say AI is actually enable us to doing the part of our job that is not data gathering. It's going to have this. If we look at the history of analytics for the last 10 years, we've been stockpiling data in random assortment, and so the job has been 90% data gathering and then 10% reporting.
Data hoarding.
Data hoarding, yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Like it was kind of the principle that the one who has the most data when they died had won. Didn't use it for anything. We just have a big fat silos of data, right?
Yeah.
And now with AI, we're probably in a place where this data can actually come to some value. I think that the challenge in it has been that I feel that there's so much potential, but we're not getting more people. So the idea is saying, what can we do? How can we do our job better without getting more people into the equation? And I think that and that's the potential, and that's where AI can come in and actually, you will be the director of a symphony orchestra of AIs.
Of agents.
Agents, yeah. You can be, M?
Yes, I get you.
Yeah.
I don't know if the people at home will get it.
Yeah.
My challenge personally with AI is the amount of possibilities is so overwhelming that sometimes it feels like you don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
How are you tackling that?
Yes, so we made a process where we looked at on kind of the internal things, that what can we do to streamline the company internally, but we also looked at how can we help the customers. And then we built a lovely model and we tested a lot of stuff. And the two first places was actually ensuring tech is running like it should. That one of the key breakers in relation to the business flow is actually saying the service might be slow, there might be a payment gateway issue, there might be a lot of technical issues that will kill the experience that we don't necessarily see. It's not something we find when we do normal conversion rate optimization. So
like monitoring on steroids.
Yeah, basically, because because it is so. The session was about agentic AI and not the LLMs, because the LLM has been fine in putting data in there, but then people still need to be data literate to have the conversation. With the agentic part, it will actually come to you with the situation saying, "Hey, this is broken," or "Should I fix it?" or "Send a message to this guy because this is broken again." And so it kind of does the analysis for you and just needs your verification that it should proceed with the fix.
How much of that work that the agent in that case is abstracting away from the consultant?
Yeah.
How much of that work is actually work that the consultant enjoys doing?
So it is a consultant answer. It depends. It depends on the consultant, right? Because it depends on the job that you've been hired for.
Yeah.
But in this case, it actually frees the consultant's time to do more consolidation, more advanced analytics, more thinking onward from there.
Yeah.
So you can actually say it could potentially be a 24-hour service that you have this, the customer subscribes to a data quality subscription.
So theoretically speaking, if I take this approach, then maybe the types of work change, right? Whereas maybe where we would have a a person who really enjoys solving puzzles, like why is this data broken, that part might get automated, might get abstracted away.
But only on the very predictable parts, right?
Yeah.
So it would be the things that has happened before that you've seen before. So
Yeah.
that would be then the issue might be saying that your agent would come to you and say, hey, something is broken here, it doesn't work now. And then as a consultant, you would have to go in and fix it. Instead of, and I'm not naming any names, but some logging into an analytics system and finding out 3 weeks later that something has been broken for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Of course, it never happened to any of us, but...
yeah. To what extent do you think, so you are a co-founder of an agency, right?
Yeah.
Me too. We help clients implement, use data. To what extent do you see the big tools in our industry taking part of our business? Like, let's say Google Analytics, just for the sake of being the biggest vendor out there, they could implement a bunch of stuff in Google Analytics.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that trend?
So I think Google is in a place where they're very cost-centric. So unless they can implement it as a service we actually pay for, they will not do it, because it doesn't add any value to their earning services, right? So from that perspective, I don't think they would be interested in going in and take the responsibility for the maintenance. So if we take the conspiracy angle on it, right? I feel that whenever Google can, they will push somebody in between them and the customer to make as a liability shield. So saying, cool, you're a partner or you're a reseller, you handle the contract, you talk to the customer, because then they will sue you and not us.
But they have tried, right? Like, in a sense, like I forget what they call it, intelligence something, right? Like that was basically a first step of them predicting, telling you what to do based on the data, like taking the role of the analyst, roughly speaking, right?
Yeah, but on a very basic level, right? Because it wasn't analyzing anything; it was just shortcutting the time to answer. So it was. I think it was it was a very fine first example, except that nobody understood it.
Yeah.
So people thought it was just a search field, so they could find something else, and nobody were using it.
Do you think? So obviously the advancements in AI are going really rapidly, and for me it's very hard to predict where the line is going. Right? It feels exponentially, which that humans are very bad at grasping exponential growth. So that kind of feels like we're in the hockey stick moment.
Yeah.
Do you think we will, let's say within the next 5 years, for the sake of argument, within the next 5 years, our roles will be totally different because of this? Like significantly changed?
Yes, I think there's a dual thing in it, in the sense that one thing is the orchestration in relation to thinking the data, being creative and kind of saying, so what is missing here? So it becomes much more the detective, but a creative detective that has to add puzzles that are not there.
Yeah.
And the other thing is can I say, on an LLM basis. So I could, and this is making you scalable as a consultant.
Yeah.
So we have the first cases already of people uploading everything they know into an LLM. So I could hire Rick Jr. So he would always be at my office. I could ask him questions.
Yeah.
So
would be useless.
Yeah. Well. So I could ask him questions, spar with him, have the discussion back and forth in relation to things, and that. And you would be able to monetize yourself multiple times, because I would be renting Rick Jr.
Yeah.
So your main job would be making Rick Jr. smarter.
Yeah. So one interesting thing that we are experimenting with is, so we have an AI tool. It's called Typing Mind, which is basically a shell around LLMs. You can have all the different ones in there, but you can also upload knowledge. And this knowledge can be, for instance, a Google Doc, right? So we now have a Google Doc per client with our history about the client. So the client is coming from this position, they're looking to grow into this, and this. They currently use email marketing, right? So we have all the context, let's say,
Yeah.
what you would normally explain to a new consultant that you would be onboarding on the client. That's
Yeah.
all in the doc. And then we also put in all the deadlines, all the commitments, everything that. And then when we talk to AI about the client, that context is included. So
Yeah.
the AI has that context window with the information of the client.
But you're writing that, right? So
Yeah. So currently we are manually constructing that. And then obviously a next step, and there's some privacy issues there perhaps, but the next step would be having also the data of the client accessible to that LLM. I think that comes very close to having a extra consultant, right?
yeah. I mean, and even to the extent, so Henrik, my co-founder at IH, he's been out doing a lot of work with AIs, and one of the things that he does, and I love it. It's really interesting because what he does is he takes a lot of the content and then he uploads it to Notebook LM.
Yep.
And uses that, so either gets the situation as the customer as a podcast, so you can kind of hear two people discussing the customer, or you can also interject yourself in the conversations like a caller. So you can go in and be part of the conversation and ask questions and say, so by having this, then you can actually, it becomes a conversation around the customer with the extra consultant that doesn't remember, that doesn't forget anything.
Okay, so how many people are currently at the agency, roughly speaking?
40.
So, knowledge of today. You have to start over. You are with the first 5.
Yeah.
Are you going to hire differently? Like, are you looking for different people now that you know that this technology exists and will probably get better, right?
Yeah.
What's the switch here?
I think I would hire differently in the sense my mind is sliding from right now. So Miko made a post and I commented as a joke saying that for every time there was an analyst, there was 90 implementers.
Yeah.
Something around that, right? And I think right now I'm much more interested in people having the commercial mindset. So I will hire much fewer technical people. They will need to be better because I think with the AI, I can talk the AI to do a very good base implementation, but then I need a really superstar to kind of go through it and make sure that it works.
Yeah,
right?
and that it's accurate and not
then it's
making
accurate.
up stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So you have the perfect implementation. You can then use an AI to monitor it and make sure it doesn't break again, which is something a resource that we should have today.
Yeah.
Because customers have a sad tendency to shoot holes in very good implementations.
So you would hire less, but higher skilled people.
Yeah, on the technical side.
Yeah.
And then I would hire more business creative people.
What's business creative? What does it mean to you?
Yeah, I just for my class in Sweden, I just wrote an article on the 9 phases of the digital analyst, and there's a lot of different functions in there. So you had the dashboarder and the reporting monkey and the implementer, and one of the phases was the data-driven business developer.
That sounds like a good buzzword.
Yeah. But it's just a person that dives into the data and finds out it could be business potential that is indicated in the data that could be explored for another part of the organization.
Yeah.
There's also the strategist, and then there's the web optimizer, and there's the marketing specialist, and these are all roles that need somebody to support them, but an AI will still be able to support that direction afterwards.
Yeah.
So we're back to what I talked a lot about, the orchestration. So you are the conductor, having your series of agents working for you on the specific client.
One fear that I have, and I'm already noticing this, we're creating so much content, and not just in the content marketing point of view, but like, for instance, the meeting recordings, right? Meeting recordings, now you have automatic transcript, super detailed, everything. I am noticing myself is that there's so much high quality content.
Yeah.
It's just too much to absorb.
Yeah.
And if, let's say, we're going to throw all of this to our client, the client also can't absorb this.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? Use AI to synthesize it again? Like, are we going to end up having AIs talking to each other?
Yeah, I think so. So on a lot of basic level conversation, my AI will talk to your AI. It's simple like, hey, Rick, I want to schedule a meeting. Okay, my AI will call your AI, and they'll find a time that suits us. So that would be part of the process, right? But still, for a lot of the important stuff, for now at least, and I used this example in my presentation about IBM in '79, I think, talking about that computer cannot be held accountable, so you shouldn't be making decisions.
Yeah.
So we will still be the filter that makes the decision because we can be held accountable.
Yeah.
Because honestly, would you want to risk the business saying, okay, listen, customer, I will let an AI handle your decision making. I carry the risk.
Yeah. I think there's also some, like, probably as the world gets noisier because of all the AI, high quality human interaction, signal, whatever, will be more valuable than it was before.
Yeah. So I agree.
But it would drown out the mediocrity, sort of, because that's done by AI and better.
Yeah. So I think that. So I think it was Yuval Harari at one point talking about that. Down the line, we'll be split into the valuable and the worthless class. So very dark thinking, saying that.
Nice
so it's
conspiracy.
people that can contribute to the overall society and people who can't.
Yeah.
And so if you're a valuable player, then it wouldn't necessarily mean that you were richer, but it meant that you actually had some kind of purpose. But if you had no value, then you would just have to adapt. You would get on a salary because the society still needed you to be a consumer. And that's kind of so talking conspiracies and that thinking now, saying, okay, sure, we can have AIs and robots run all the factories in the world. But challenge would be nobody would have any money to buy the products.
Yeah, that's where the talks about universal basic income come from, right? Yeah. This is also something I can't really wrap my head around, because I don't think it makes sense, right? Like, in the end, it's all machine tied together, and it's all tied to the economic consumption, right? At least in our capitalist society. Okay, pulling it back to analytics, because we staying on topic a little bit.
Let me loop one thing in. It's on the AI level.
Yeah.
So my concern in this is saying that I can see so much potential in AI. My concern is saying, are we putting too many eggs in the AI basket? So because right now, and I think we had the conversation before in relation to cloud. In the beginning, cloud was so cheap, it made no sense not putting your stuff in cloud.
Yeah.
And now the cost of cloud is increasing, and it's just
Now
become...
it makes sense to go back to on-prem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's kind of probably the same thing with AI. Now AI is dirt cheap, and we can get a lot of stuff, but still OpenAI came out with a deficit of 200 billion.
Well, I think if you look through the lens of, like, the hype cycle, I definitely think AI is here to stay, but I could definitely see us having a huge blow off top, right? Like the internet bubble had, right? Like in the 2000s, like, where everybody said everything would be a website, right? And the speculation went all overboard. I think we're doing a pretty good job on doing that now with AI. And then there will be a healthy correction, and then we will be left over with the actually useful elements. So from that perspective, definitely not putting all the eggs in one basket.
You can just see the situation from the other day, right? Then was DeepSeek. DeepSeek came out, and then suddenly everything collapsed because, oh my God, it was so cheap, and now people...
a little bit of market hysteria.
Yeah, exactly. Hyper hysteria. I think they talked about the loss from Nvidia that day was the largest single loss of any company in world history.
That's an achievement.
Yeah, exactly.
If we think about the impact of AI on our industry, right? So if I think about, obviously the internet was the birth of the digital analytics industry. I think with mobile adoption, you saw a lot of new players rising, right? Like that brought with it, I would argue, tools like amplitude, mix panel, etc., right? That have a more mobile-first tracking approach. Do you think AI will also trigger an opportunity for new vendors or for vendors to adopt?
Oh yeah. I was last year. I talked about how saying that the challenge with AI is that if the market shifts as we can see the trend is right now, what will happen is that the challenge of analytics is like you talked about my AI would talk to your AI, but that is an untrackable conversation with the systems that we have today.
Yeah.
Right? And it would be the same thing. So I use the example saying, so you're walking out. So Rick in the future is walking out of his home, and his AI calls him saying, "Hey, Rick, I saw on the door cam that your shoes are torn. You need new shoes." You say, "Okay, cool. See what you can find me," and it finds you some shoes. It knows your preference better than anybody. So I found these 5 different pairs of shoes, and you say, "Okay, cool. So get me the best. I like these one. Get me the best price," and then it will basically scour the web. We're talking the World Wide Web and saying, "Okay, right now there's a sale on these shoes in Venezuela, and with the current currency exchange rate, it's actually cheaper ordering them from Venezuela than buying them somewhere else." And in that entire purchase process, the only data that would be gathered was one dude in Venezuela would see some guy called Rick ordered some shoes for the Netherlands, right? So we need other systems because otherwise we lose all the insights in relation to the customer journey. So the part of that was saying actually, so one thing is losing all the data. Yeah, well, we'll loop back on afterwards and say.
Well, but I'm thinking, right? So currently, at my clients, I see the OpenAI bot and the Perplexity bot and whatever. I see them in their analytics, right? So that means they're crawling the website, right? So there's probably somebody asking a question which caused them to crawl the website. I could see us expanding that, adding like that. They would add context about what the search is about.
Yeah. So the challenge is then if they just done a search of your site, will they reuse the data they already have locally, or would they do a search again?
True.
So you kind of get this cached situation that somebody has.
So you need like agent analytics.
Yeah.
Which is something that in that case the models would build, right? Like so OpenAI would have OpenAI analytics.
Yeah, they should, but the challenge is then you need the different AI things. Analytics to talk to each other, unless they want to own that data. So you're talking, it could be a really walled garden, because that would be competitive information for them.
Yeah, and probably also from a privacy perspective, it would be. Yeah.
So it's super interesting saying because we are going down a road where there's a lot of data disappearing. It's not something we can with the current technologies and the way the world is working right now. It's not something I see an obvious solution to change. But you can even go to the extent right now and say, okay, of all your clients, how do you see if somebody did a voice search?
Yeah.
Right. So Google Home does a search. We don't see that.
Yeah. Yeah. So in that, to a certain extent, of course, we already knew we weren't tracking everything, right? Because and like I always say, like as long as we don't stick like a neural net in our brain so that we can measure what we actually think. We are always measuring some sort of proxy of us clicking around on a website, and then we assume that means we're interested. Yeah. But yeah, we're losing. If this continues this way, we will be losing even more data.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a super interesting challenge for us as an industry, right? And you can say right now it's been at the level where we said, okay, cool, we'll track everything we can, and then we know there's something we're not tracking, like voice. Yeah. But the problem is that the stuff we're not tracking right now is growing. Yeah. Most likely, right? Because it's like we don't know how much it's growing.
Okay, Steen, we have 3 more minutes. I got informed by our production.
Somebody send you a hand signal.
Yeah. What is your top prediction for Superweek next year? Conspiracy themed.
Conspiracy themed, I think we will be returning to the roots, and we'll be talking much more about analysis. looking at
Old school analysis.
old school analysis, actually going in and looking at the data and coming up with some conclusions and saying, okay, what have I learned from the data? What have my AIs helped me learn from the data? So taking it back to that level. And because it was really interesting, depressing, fascinating. Preparation for me this year, I went back to the program in 14, the first year I was here, and looked at the sessions that were there. That was Peter O'Neill talking about how to analyze, and it was a really practical operational analysis.
Yeah.
And then I'm not a technical guy. Then GTM came and fucked everything up. So it just became the following years. It was just
Only
deep tech-
Simo Ahava.
Yeah, deep tech implementations and fun for coders.
Okay, so you're saying the world becomes more complex, so we're going to do more simple stuff. We're going back
Yeah.
to the basics.
Because
The counter reaction.
Dude is in the job title.
Yeah. Nice.
Cool.
I like it. Good prediction. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, but thanks for having me. Cheers.
And yeah, let's enjoy the conference. Bye-bye.
Bye.